My Hero Academia is back for a single episode. Yes, that's right, all of the epilogue chapters of a manga that happened a while ago are now being adapted into a single episode of the anime titled More. So things are basically taking place in the same timeline as where we left things off in the final episode of the final season, where everybody's all grown up and they're all doing their own things as pro heroes. Very interesting though, we start things off sort of focusing on Ochako, as she apparently has been having dreams about Toga. For the moment, relatively vague dreams, and she's unable to remember exactly what happens in it. All she can really remember was that Toga was there, but she at least sticks a pin in that and continues about her workday. And it is really neat too, that little bit that we got to saw of her and Tsuyu in working with children is followed up on here as they go to a school, and they're also there with the big three, or at least they were the big three when they were in UA, who are also all pro heroes, and it's kind of neat getting to see their new costumes as well. And I think they're actually a pretty good group to work with the children, especially Mirio as he entertains them. And I think it is very nice too, we get to see a little moment as one of the kids is kind of holding back all shy, as again Mirio's encouraging all of the other children to utilize their quirks, and Ochako kneels down and uses her floating quirk to get the kid up into the air and actually utilize their quirk, and you know, it's a cute little moment that definitely fits a bright and happy tone that things are starting off with. On the way back, Ochako is telling Tsuyu about all the dreams she's been having about Toga, and we also get a little reminder that on the day of Toga's death, she actually used some of her blood to save Ochako, which definitely is a big reason why she's still thinking about her after her death, but even still it sort of implies that this is the reason she's been having so many vivid dreams as of late, even comparing it to One For All and how the vestiges worked of the previous users being able to talk to the younger users. We at least have some sort of precedent in the series, though maybe just a bit of a lesser form when it comes to Ochako and Toga, and whether that actually be true or it is all just in Ochako's head. But also, like I said, very interesting that basically this whole episode is focused on Ochako, or at least from her point of view. Yeah, we do obviously jump into some of the other characters, but for the most part she is a narrative thread that's continuing this episode, as now it has become 9 and we catch up with Katsuki, Eiichiro, and Izuku, who are all on their way to a get-together. But we actually do spend a good moment as this scene here takes place in Katsuki's brand new car, and Deku is all in the back getting squished by this chair that I have no idea why this is a gag or how exactly that's supposed to be explained, but also it is really nice getting to catch up with everybody else as well. The story is apparently taking place a month after the whole reunion that happened at the end of the final season, so basically now that they're all adults and have gotten to do their own thing, they're sort of coming back together and re-establishing that connection. As we know, Deku has become a teacher at UA and now actually has access as well to that armored suit that basically gives him back his powers, and we also get the extra little details that he's been given approval to use that armor, so he's been doing hero work on the side, though at the end of the day he considers himself mostly a teacher. And you know, I think that is a pretty good ending all things considered, especially with how things ended, in a world where a lot of that supervillain crime is actually dropping and there feels like there isn't too much of a need for heroes, but obviously they can still put on their costume, help out, and they're public figures that everybody looks up to. So while I personally definitely would have wanted Deku to keep most of his powers and be the #1 pro hero all the time, I think that following the developments of that final season, this is a pretty good place to leave him off in. It's also kind of funny as we catch up a bit with Bakugo as well, finding out that he's been interviewing a lot of other young heroes, potentially trying to find a sidekick, but hasn't officially hired anybody just yet. Apparently he was even waiting for Deku to apply to his agency, which is kinda sweet, and he gets all angry when that information gets out there, but I guess not for the moment with Deku being so comfortable where he is. So when they get to the venue, we find out that it's a reunion with the entirety of Class 1A, meant to celebrate Shoto. And this is kinda nice getting to catch up with everybody else as well. Definitely because this is only one episode, we don't get to spend too much time with some of the other smaller characters, but getting to see their newer designs, getting an idea of where they are in life, and also having them speak is really nice. Though I will say that this section that has them all together does sort of feel like that special introduction episode they did a while ago. You know, the one that was basically non-canon, but it came at the beginning of season 4, I think it was. It was basically just there to reintroduce everybody to these characters or serve as like a jumping in point for somebody new, and I get that because of how much these characters appeared in the main anime for so many years, and they all basically got to have their moment in the final season. Wanting to actually catch up with them and make sure that they're all happy is something that the fans definitely wanted. And even though Izuku and Ochako don't get to talk at the party, there's a moment where he's looking at her and gets a few feelings, and it kind of reminds me of that time where he realized that he could use his legs to kick for One For All, but now it's just him as an adult realizing like, oh my gosh, I think I have a crush on Ochako. But for the moment nobody gets to make a move because they all get a notification that there's villain activity, so they all suit up and head off, and apparently the notification was just for a stolen vehicle, so I don't really get why they all had to put on their costumes and head on out there. It makes for some nice shots at least, and even when we get to the action sequence, I suppose we'll call it, as they're stopping the stolen vehicle, the animation does look pretty nice, because really this is one of the only moments you would utilize a style like this, and it is basically only Tenya, Katsuki, Izuku, and Shoto actually doing something, but when they actually stop the car, the entirety of Class 1A is just stand stop right there. Could you imagine that? You just steal a car and then suddenly there are like 20 heroes all right in front of you? The point is that sort of signals this is where the night is gonna end for the moment, as everybody else is heading off all in their own directions for the night, though Izuku decides to walk home for the night, bidding farewell to Katsuki, with a promise that they'll catch up again very soon, inviting him to come speak at the school. So now we actually get to the end of the episode and everything kind of wraps up all together, as Ochako and Izuku run into each other, and we get a bit of that internal monologue from Ochako, as she is kind of reflecting on everything and how she feels specifically, also getting a bit of that mental scape and some actual dialogue from Toga. And yeah, whether this actually be happening or it all just be in Ochako's imagination, she realizes that she started having these dreams about Toga about a month ago when she started seeing Izuku again. So basically, Toga was just in her mind pushing her onward to say, hey, you love him, go love him. And that's sort of where we get the implied thing of like, oh, you know, now they both admit their feelings toward each other and they're gonna start dating potentially. So a nice little shipping ending for the special. And of course, as the credits are rolling, we're still getting other little vignettes of everybody else doing their own things. But overall, for a little epilogue episode, I think it was pretty fun. I think especially because the series started off so fun and lighthearted, and eventually the final season was just, you know, its own thing completely. All of that epilogue that we got as part of the main season really felt like maybe not enough. So then this one feeling like a bit of a solid follow-up of like, hey, this is definitively where everybody else ended up, and sort of having the characters age about as much as they would have if we were going by the actual timeline of when the anime started airing, compared to where things are now. Like I said, I do appreciate that this episode had some sort of narrative through line following Ochako throughout basically the whole thing, establishing where things are, giving her a bit of a conflict, and then having it resolved by the end. And like I said, a good amount of it did feel a bit fan servicey of like, oh look, here's this person, here's that one, because a lot of these side characters were ones that we got to have focus on before, and so then just kind of wrapping it all up in one episode, it's like, you know, just how much can you do? And I know that obviously this is adapting a few chapters that were actually made in the manga first, but for what it is, I really did like it, and it was really fun to see everybody once again. Very interesting though. I wonder what we're going to be doing with the future of My Hero Academia, because the main story's done and now finally we have the final episode here. There's still the whole question of Vigilantes, which will potentially get 1, maybe 2 final seasons to wrap everything up, but then there's also like the fact that they announced another special episode and OVA focusing on Eri. Well yeah man, there's no way they're gonna let the franchise wrap up that easily. But when those other projects that are all up in the air are finished with, I really do wonder if they're gonna try out some more movies with everybody else as adults, or, you know, try to fund an anime exclusive season or something. That could happen. I'm not necessarily saying I would want that to happen, but if it does and it happens to feel like this episode, I wouldn't mind. So let me know what you think in the comments about this epilogue episode. Did you enjoy it? Are you happy where everybody else is ending up? What would you like to see going forward for the franchise? And now that we can sort of close the book on these characters, what was your favorite moment? I talk about anime every week in YouTube Shorts, but once in a while maybe we'll do longer videos like this, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see more of. But for now, this is GatorX. I hope you have a plus ultra day, and I will catch you all later.